The December 15th workshop meeting of the Clay County School Board will come to order. I will turn it over. We're going to discuss the draft agenda for the regular meeting on January 4th. We will accept questions from the audience. There's no audience. Okay, Mr. Davis.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. We'll start with C1. C1, just minutes for the school board of November 9th, along with a workshop for number 27, and the regular meeting scheduled and student hearing for December 7th as well. C2 is the employee work calendar for the 2018-2019 school year. This is where this has been established by the calendar committee and just defines work dates for all employees. C3 is the 2018 Exceptional Educational Extended School Year. This is for students, exceptional educational students. We will have this at Ridgeview High School, Keystone Elementary School, along with at Middleburg High School. It will start around June the 18th for Ridgeview, and then the other two schools will start June 19th. And this is all driven, services are driven by students' IEPs and needs for the extended summer. So we can continue progression and no summer learning loss. C4 is the consent agenda. Nothing on here in relation from our side for job description or anything. C5 is the 2017-18 salary schedule. This is the adjustments to the minimum wage. It has been increased effective starting in January by 15 cents. So a transition from $8.10 to $8.25. And once approved, we will post and notice this throughout the entire organization. C6 is the instructional evaluation system. This is just a system so that everyone at the table understands the evaluation system for our teachers. This has been in collaboration with HR, the CCEA, IT, curriculum instruction, where we have added multiple indicators to a teacher's performance measure.
What's been changed? Is that added in a different color so we can see it? Or is this a new document that we've not seen?
Brand new document.
And this is in collaboration with Contract?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And this year we have multiple measures for the performance measures for the evaluation, where it's just not one standalone. So if I'll give you an example. So if it was just the PERT in isolation, we went to another layer, another measure that they could potentially hit in reference to the hidden performance side of it.
Well, how does this affect, the big issue with the cut scores and the teachers who didn't make best and brightest because they had ESE students and they were judged, by the regular standards of the regular kids, which I still have an issue with.
Sure.
And I feel that that's wrong and there's got to be something to make it right. But how does this affect them? Is that corrected for this year?
Yeah, everything met often with the committee, the CAS committee, and we identified cut scores which everyone was in agreement upon. So as superintendent, as stated in past, that I had the ability to set the cut score, but we did it collectively. So everyone feels comfortable with the cut scores. They're agreeable. They have been sent out to all of the teachers as well, just as a FYI of this is where we're going, this is what we're doing. So I feel very comfortable that they are satisfied with the new measures.
So the number for a teacher who has some ESE kids and some mainstream kids is not 114.
No, it's not 114.
It's 96 or 91
what
or
did it go down
whatever.
to?
Right?
So
106.
one of the during the committee process, what we did is we took the average PERT score for reading and math for those ESE students. So we looked at that population of kids and we settled on a score that would be comparable to the district average of that ESE population. I think it was 95.
Yeah.
So what about a teacher that's not identified as an ESE teacher but has ESE students? How does that affect him or her?
Well, it could be, I mean, we talk about ESE students, that continuum is large. You have some kids that are on consult, some kids that are gifted, so that could, the cognitive level of that student could be very large in reference to one continuum to another continuum. So we still had average, I think it went from 114 around, I don't have the numbers in front of me, it's either 97 or 105 was a middle point of the 97 and the 114. We came in the middle, which was ended up being the average for the district.
But I think what if I may, what Janice might be asking, let's say I'm an inclusion teacher,
Okay.
and I've got 10 quote-unquote regular ed kids and 10 ESE kids.
Okay.
Are these kids going to be looked at separately from these kids, and their average is going to be separate
No,
from
we
this
didn't
average?
isolate,
Or do
we didn't
put
isolate.
everyone
So
together?
part of the original plan too was to give those additional bonus points based on ESE and SES. So you had those subgroups of students, so you got additional bonus points added on your overall to kind of
So it
account for
does-
that
it looks-
situation.
Okay.
And the bonus points is up to, is it 10?
10.
10 bonus points additional to it.
So,
Well, that's not really very many points when you
Right.
consider, I mean, I'm thinking of this teacher that contacted me last year teaching algebra 1A and geometry. And some of his students were just mainstream, not AP students, not honor students, and some of them had an active IEP, but he is not identified as an ESE teacher. And this is like my son, one of my kids was an ESE student. So this teacher was told, get all your kids to 96 or 97, whatever the number was. And then when the VAM score came in, he didn't reach 114 with all those kids, and so he was penalized. But he was doing what he was told by his principal to do. So it seems to me that you have kids that are struggling. I mean, I certainly understand your IB, your AP, your honors kids should all be reaching that 114 baseline. But your kids that are mainstream and struggle, don't set the bar so high that they're gonna fail. And then the teacher's held accountable because you're setting the bar that high for these kids that are doing the best they can. And to reach that 96 is what they need for graduation. So if they're reaching what they need for graduation, why are we setting the bar that much higher?
So we did address that this go around. So we looked at every individual content area. So like geometry and algebra are like 97. Your IB courses would be 114. So I think we've accounted for that by subject area, which would address the ESE issue as well.
Right, and we learned a lot from last year, and the teachers are really happy because no longer is just isolation for the PERT. They could have coordinate scores, so SAT, ACT, PERT, FSA, EOC. So we put, if you can see, this is an example of, and I'm sorry, this is what's up here. I'm just looking at R1, that's fine. You see all of the options and they can hit a threshold.
Right, but I don't
And
see any numbers on it. So when
Yeah.
I was reading that, it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
I can send you the
Because I don't
numbers.
see any numbers
Yeah.
of where you're expecting them to
Yeah,
get.
I can send you the numbers that teachers agreed upon.
so we had talked about the possibility of looking at measuring gains instead of proficiency for evaluation. Is that not something?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, proficiency is the expectation for grade level, so we want to stay with proficiency. We expect gains to be made, and gains are a part of it, but we're seeking for kids to be, proficiency is equivalent to being on grade level. So we want that to continue to stay the norm.
I'll also
Thank
add to
you.
that with Achieve 3000 and iReady as being an indicator here. If they do grow a certain amount, that could trump, say if they weren't proficient but they grew a certain amount of points, that would be a benefit to the teacher on their
So
evaluation.
proficiency is considered in the evaluation?
Growth, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It does depend on the subject area. So if Achieve 3000 applies to reading and that subject is more of a reading course, then if Achieve 3000 is one of the indicators, then growth actually could be used.
Okay.
Yeah,
Versus
Achieve 3000 is
proficiency.
one of the elements.
And iReady is one of them.
So it seems like there's a lot more flexibility.
Yeah, this is really teacher friendly.
Thank you for correcting it.
Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate it.
Sorry, we had to do a little bit of.
I can't get mine to work to scroll down. What did they do for the elementary grades? What did the elementary what would be my choices as a third grade teacher?
So a third grade teacher would be, I think it's, everything standalone is FSA, but then it would go to iReady as well. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, I know
So
that-
they
that
would
was on-
have multiple, it's multiple indicators. For some reason, I'm all over guitar and drama and art. Let me see if I can get
I'm
the
sorry,
FSA.
this one.
I just want to make sure there's a different
I
indicator.
did, well, when I got to
Here,
the
great.
manual for all of the,
Math. So if a math, yeah, so I mean, right now, well, that's grade 1. Grade 3 math would have, grade 3 math, FSA math and iReady as well.
okay, so they have
So
the
they have,
option of
yeah,
iReady.
yes ma'am. And at the younger grade levels, I believe in, like we did in 1 and 2, they would have the iReady and the SAT 10.
Right,
So it'd be a number of indicators that they could hit.
okay, thank you.
Yes ma'am. In kindergarten, they had our kindergarten assessment along with iReady. And I can send you the cut scores if you want to see them. All right, any other questions? All right, C7 is permission, we're going to publish the K-12 science textbook adoption. Everything's gone well. We've sat with multiple committee members. We have identified their recommendation. Most of the recommendation is centered around, I think it's Huffman Mifflin, which we've identified. We've identified everything that they've had. We learned from social studies that if they had these teacher resources and this student resources, that they get the same resources. If we can go greater and deeper, we will. So we're going to match resources to resources, since this hasn't been adopted since 2012, I believe. So up for adoption cycle, we are good with the recommendations, and everything should go smooth in this process. Teachers will get what they want.
Questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Does this adoption include any manipulatives?
Yes, it does, no.
Awesome. And is there obviously there's going to be some stuff that they use up in the first year following all of the experiments and everything else?
Yes.
They are not going to probably redo that, we'll have to do that.
No, we'll do
either
that.
on-
That is correct.
That's
okay.
correct.
Lab books or journals or anything of that nature included with it?
They're student workbooks, but they're not journals. Those would be
Journals
supplemental.
should be, journals should be on their own.
Yeah.
And it's a book.
Yes.
It's a book. It's
And
a
there is an
text.
online component
Good
as
text.
well.
There's an online component. Online component and available obviously to the parents at home online, just like
Yeah.
National Geographic. Cool.
Yeah.
Good pictures?
Yeah.
No questionable ones that we found.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
They'll find them if.
Just have
They'll call
everything
us.
in there.
They will.
We'll be told about it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Always books we got to ban.
One other quick question,
Yep.
6th grade. Are we going to have to print special 6th grade books to alleviate any human
No.
anatomy?
No,
Okay.
they were very careful in vetting
Yeah.
that. They were sensitive to that from last time, so
Thank
I
you.
think it's all good.
Yep.
Thank you.
The vetting teams were very robust this year. We had lots of teachers,
Mhm.
significant subs to be there, but we
And
thought
there
that
was
was
great
important.
feedback on that.
Good. It was a very rigorous process. Rupert followed, documented. Mr. Connor and I have brought the specialists back in, double checked to make sure they know what they're getting, so there should be no glitches. Training will be included, and we've got a pretty decent price right now.
Yep, good price. Good solid price.
Great.
So this is a K-12 anatomy, physiology, chemistry, bio, those types of chemistry, physics. So good to go. All right, C8 is approval of out-of-county student travel for K-12. This is travel for band, chorus, ROTC, wrestling, basketball, and key club. We've got kids going a lot of places to compete, which is that's awesome for our county. C9 is just renewal of Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University for collaboration with aerospace programs. These aerospace programs are currently at 3 of our schools with Keystone, Oakleaf, and Orange Park. And we have a total of around 79 students that are actively engaged in dual enrollment activities through this partnership. This is just an extension of it. C10 is a 21st Century Grant Program Agreement. Every year within this grant, you have to have a third party that comes in and evaluates our implementation of grant funding and also programmatic approaches. So they will review the organizational deliverables, and this is going to be health tech. They give us data and survey information to tell us what's working, what's not, and what we can do differently. This is at Montclair, Keystone, Clay Hill, and Ridgeview Elementary School. This is last year. The good thing is last year the survey cost us around $16,000, and we got it down to 12 this year.
Great.
So you know, moving good with the grant funding. So look forward to the feedback about how we can get better with this after-school program. C11 is proposed allocation changes. At this time, we bring to you today is a allocation for the principalship for Discovery Oaks Elementary School, along with one principal secretary for Discovery Oaks. And Fluminense High School had a spike in enrollment with students under the ESOL umbrella, so we're providing classroom assistance to make sure we meet our guidelines as proposed in the staff allocation plan.
Have you done interviews yet for the principal?
Yes, ma'am, I have. So you know, I'm there for both the replacement and the principal. I hope to announce. I wanted to announce it, you know, before we went to break, but at this stage, I think I will wait until the allocation's approved and do it properly.
Right.
So once the allocation is approved, then we will announce probably either that evening or the next morning. And then I will go to the staff with a new leader to engage, and then the new principal of Discovery Oaks Elementary School will stay around 4 to 6 weeks at that school with the new principal to continue the instructional momentum. And then we will probably release that individual with us to be side-by-side Kemp and side-by-side Dr. Stage. Right?
Pray for
He
him.
is so ready.
for
So because I got stuff to do, I'm going. I have to follow a process. I can't. I'm ready. I mean, they want me announced now, but I don't have allocation.
So you're gonna announce the principal and then, whoever that principal came from, the replacement for
Yes,
that
ma'am.
principal?
Yes, ma'am. So what we'll have to do is announce principal for Discovery Oaks, the new principal for the school in which that individual, the AP will go to, and then a new assistant principal at the school that individual has moved from. So it's all a domino effect.
Does the new principal pick her own, or his own, pardon me, there were men and women that applied, assistant principal?
Yes, ma'am. In this organization, and I think I spoke to it last year, I want principals to have the autonomy of what they own. So if I'm going to hold them accountable, I want them, at the end of the day, when they come to me with their red wagon, I want them to have the luxury to put whatever they want in that red wagon, and they own the process. Now, is there opportunity for our team, and I think our professional due diligence, to coach them of who we believe there are some candidates out there through our interactions and calibration walks to say, hey, you may want to look at this individual. We believe that they may be the right fit. We definitely will have conversations such as that. But at the end of the day, it's the principal's ownership of who they hire. I think they should have that autonomy.
So the interviews that you just recently went through.
Yep.
For assistant principals to become principals.
Yes, ma'am.
And did that include the school that you're replacing with,
It did.
does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. So we opened it up, and as I said, 4 individuals applied, 3 qualified, so we interviewed the 3 for Discovery Oaks Elementary School. So then we opened up a window, everyone who had a level 2 certification, and you have to have level 2 certification to become a principal. We interviewed, I believe it was about 12. About 12 candidates. We interviewed a blend of those who we may have already interviewed and passed, along with individuals who aspire to be principals who may not have passed or we haven't interviewed before. So we had a good long day of interviews, and it's going to be a great opportunity to provide some feedback to candidates about how they can improve their interview skills, and then we identify those who passed and didn't pass and move forward. So.
It would really be neat after the board approves the consent agenda, if I turned it to you and you made the announcement, we could almost have a drum roll. I would love that, rather than just sitting
Yes,
out.
ma'am.
Wait, yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
is that the, is,
I mean,
If that's what you use, my team is ready to go,
What
so
y'all
they're all
think? I
meeting
think I
right
like
now.
that.
is that
Right
a
now.
procedural?
We can go. Hey,
And we,
Yeah.
okay.
I'll leave
I
it
didn't know.
like that. You want a drum roll?
We got
I
some
didn't know if
drumsticks
you
at the
wanted to
house,
get
I'll
to
bring them
staff.
for you.
I don't know if that's.
No, we can announce, but
I think, you know what,
A little levity in it.
All of the staff sort of.
Rather than just getting an
Because that's what I've been.
Sure,
Johnny
sure.
Lewis.
Well, I heard that so-and-so and so-and-so.
yeah.
Oh, they already
I've got all kind of names flowing out
The
there.
staffs, I said. are
Somebody asked me yesterday,
people.
Dave, Al,
You know what I mean?
yeah, Jesus, is he going to be?
Is this the worst kept secret except from the board?
Yeah.
Kept from
I haven't even made it, I haven't told
They
staff.
both said
I
that
just
they know
know- all I
they're
know is
I haven't told
I
staff.
have no
I
idea.
I haven't told
And
staff.
I'm
I will
saying
know
engage,
what
staff
I
knew
like.
that
I
they
have no
interviewed.
idea.
That's
I will
what-
engage the board,
Actually,
I will engage you individually next week. I can do it when we need to.
You gonna tell us everybody?
Okay. I will tell you 2 out of the
Carol's Christmas gift.
2 out of the 3, because the ingoing principal will have the affordability to interview for their assistant
Okay, I
principal.
got you.
Right.
You'll tell us today in secret?
Can you keep a secret?
Can you?
Yeah, I haven't even told the candidate.
Hey, Santa's watching.
I think it would be interesting to do it at the board meeting. and
That's
let
fine, I
them
can
all
reveal.
wonder.
You want to reveal?
Yeah.
I can reveal.
Santa's watching.
Okay, let's move on.
Good.
All right.
All right, go.
C12 is monthly property review, furniture and equipment. C13 is AV materials. I got shop too. C14, not the day I work. C14 is software, property software. C15 is vehicles within our school district. C16 is our deletion reports. C17 is just monthly updates on pre-qualified contractors. C18 is the guaranteed maximum price for Fleming ACE facility.
Yes, sir, that's a placeholder for the board because of the moved up time frame. The GMP is due Tuesday, so as soon as we get the GMP, we'll send that information out through the superintendent.
And Thomas May is our construction company that will be driving this work. C19 is final phase plans for the ACE testing facility at Fleming High School. C20 is the completion of the Doctor's Inlet fire alarm replacement. Man, this has been on here for months and months, and we put it on, we approve it, we get the plans, it burns up, we got to figure out something. So, thank you, Doc.
Sorry, just move on.
I mean,
It's gonna be on the agenda for the next.
I don't know. Every time I come here, it's on the agenda. So I mean, I think I'm gonna walk there and pull it myself, but no one's there.
Funding though, that he got that taken care
It
of.
is because that would have cost us 160 grand
Did a
probably.
good job, thank you.
All right, and that wasn't even covered. Good job. All right, discussion. D1 is controlled open enrollment plan for 2018. Every year we have to update this plan to determine threshold for utilization and also identify schools that qualify. Once again, I am presenting to the board that we use the same number we used last year as 85% as a threshold for utilization. Last year, you know, we had 11 schools that qualified. If we use the 85% threshold with consistent as last year, we have 10 schools that qualify. As you see, we have 5 elementary schools.
Number of students, is it more or less than last year?
I believe it's less because we had 15. It was 1,500. I think it was 1,557 seats, if I remember correctly.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I know I asked this last year.
Okay.
But if a student doesn't meet one of the 5 criteria that are the other reasons they can get into the schools, the
Military, the foster care.
that, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So they don't meet one of those,
Okay.
and they're not the seats on here,
Okay.
they can come into our schools.
If there's academy seats, so academies run parallel. So if there's academy seats open in the high school, they have the opportunity to come through academy seating if available. And there is a special request form that if they have, that could be a hardship
From
could be
outside the county?
approved.
They can use our academies from outside the county?
No, well, in county first, in county first. So then if you still have available seating and then someone or maybe requests a special request for hardship to go, then they would be potentially looked and screened by a CTE department along with Chief of Secondary Education and Mr. Wingate.
And we get the money for it.
This doesn't make me popular, especially where I live,
Okay,
but I think we have a gap.
okay,
There are students that come into our school that are not seats on here. And we need those students
right.
to keep our numbers up. But we have no policy for which we're approving, it's principal approval.
Don't we have an
Principals.
agreement with that county?
With Bradford,
Bradford and Putnam.
Do we have an agreement
We've
with them?
always-
We
We
thought
do.
we did.
We have one in Bradford.
there is.
I know
That's not the same
It's
as
not the
we'll just
same.
take, you can just go
Take anybody,
anywhere. I
yeah.
mean, now it should be all controlled open enrollment, and my concern is that somebody is gonna get denied at some point and sue the district because it's all outside of the policy. Nowhere in our policy, and that's why I was asking what the
Right.
reasons are you can get in. It may just be if there's certain seats available, principal discretion, first
Right.
come, first serve, I don't know.
Right.
But this open enrollment doesn't go through principal discretion. This is a committee that, and there's like a
It's
tier hierarchy.
it's the priority measures are the 5 priority measures that you spoke to, and then it's a random lottery system after that for selection. If there's something we need to do in the Keystone area, we definitely can look into it with you.
I think that it should be investigated.
Okay, we will.
Well, and
I'm gonna look at your.
Because I'll tell you, it was talked about all over Facebook last
Okay.
spring, and I did not engage, but I read.
No, I
all of
appreciate it.
this.
I didn't
I
hear,
was told
but
my
if there's
kid would get
something,
in if they have good behavior and good grades. I was told my kid, and
yeah, we don't want to be
Which is
subjective.
what it
Well,
used to be
the
though.
one
It used
thing-
to be a certain
Sure.
GPA and no referrals and
Right.
they were
Yeah,
okay.
we can definitely look
So
at,
it's
see if there's
changed
something needs to
now.
be done for that area and look at whatever agreements that we have with surrounding counties.
I mean, we need those, it's about 100 kids a year, we need them.
Sure.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And we're the best school in the area,
Right.
hands down, so, and that does not apply to the elementary. I'm sorry, I kept interrupting.
No, it's fine. I appreciate the heads up.
I think, though, it would be a mistake to try to list all the reasons, because
Right.
there's so many individual things, you couldn't think of all the reasons.
And it
So-
could be a grade
But we
level
can take
thing,
care
where
of it
it's
without
not,
saying this.
like the overall capacity doesn't change, but you have grade level seats
Seats.
open up or something.
Right.
I don't know if there's a way to address that.
So we're getting like 4,000 per student instead of 7,000 per student.
Can you repeat that again?
I
Sorry.
said with Putnam and Bradford, we have an interlocal agreement.
Yeah.
So we get
With both?
full FTE dollars plus, you know, the taxes, the property taxes. Whereas with Duval County, we don't have an interlocal agreement. So
No.
kids that come from there, we just get the basic student funding that,
Mhm.
you know, 4,000, whatever that number is. Susan, what's that number?
4,100, 4,147.
As opposed to the 73. So really, those kids that come from the north, they're costing us an additional $3,000 per student. So how many students is that? You know, so that's really costing us money, this open enrollment.
Yes, ma'am.
Whereas what you're talking about, we get that full funding, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You know, a few years ago, Bradford tried to deny
Mhm.
students leaving, and
Right.
you can imagine how well that went
That went
over.
over.
Right.
And I think we
Well-
also have an agreement on the transportation with Bradford, I know.
Right.
Dr. Kemp,
Yes, ma'am.
we do have an agreement with Bradford on transportation of those kids that go back and forth across county lines, right?
I will have
Bradford
to,
kids that
yeah, I
come
believe, we do, let me confirm with
I
the
think
transportation.
we do, we used,
So I'll have Terry Dennis, I'll have Mr. Connor, and look and review this, any kind of agreements that we have, and figure out if there's something we need to do differently, and if there is, then I'll get with Mr. Carey.
I just want to make a policy. Let me be clear.
No.
We certainly
Yes.
want
No,
to keep
listen,
that
we-
and
we-
foster that relationship.
And I wanna be
Absolutely.
as clean
I
as we
agree
can with this
you.
process, where it doesn't put anyone in a situation, and I mean, I think it's just fair for us to have clean language if it needs to be, so. Well, in this model, you have 5 elementary, 3 junior high schools, and 2 high schools with 1,300 students. You know, we will, like I said, random lottery processes after 5 priorities. This year, we learned from last year. We're going to start the window at February 9th through March the 9th, which gives us a earlier indicator of how soon we can get this done and get the lottery out identified. There is one.
Swimming pens.
No, man, Swim Pen had an increase of
Swimming's
100
full.
kids last year,
Yeah,
so
they're full.
they're rock and rolling. One thing we do need to look at, and I'll look at that with my internal staff and also Mr. Dagada, if you can scroll down, Ms. Bush, I think there is, there may be a requirement for an appeal, and in this we put in there, right there, above siblings preference, it says there's no appeal process. So we just need to figure out through legal if we are required to have an appeal process, which we may, so I have to confirm. So that may change if it does.
We can amend
Well,
it.
yes, ma'am, we'll make the amendments. I just wanted to,
Right.
anything else, Mr. Dagnan?
No, I think he hit it. There's just another, a word where it goes to the military orders. If you scroll down, where it says dependent children of active duty military personnel whose move resulted in military, should be from.
From
That has
military orders.
a different
Military.
implication.
Right.
So
Change the
yeah, we
end
do
sound.
need an appeals process under the statute, just for the burden. You have to be burdened, folks.
All right. Any other questions?
No.
Okay. All right, D2 is special actions.
There is one that might come in just at the deadline.
okay, you'll let us know.
We'll let you know.
Thank you.
All right, and D3
I'm
is,
curious.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
All right, D3 is the attendance boundary for Discovery Oaks Elementary School and revisions to area impact to the existing school.
I do want to say this, that meeting the other night was very good.
Thank you.
I liked having them write their questions on cards. It took some of that parents,
Yeah, the
it
emotion
wasn't it took the emotion out of it. I thought, and plus, Mr. Connor was able to identify if there were several of the same question to kind of
Yes,
get them. And I think that it was well done, and
Thank
if
you.
in the future, I think that's the way to do it.
It's a good format.
I think, I mean, I haven't heard anything, so
Yeah.
I am hoping that this will be the smoothest revision we have ever done.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure,
The
thank you.
Post-it notes on the board?
Yep.
I didn't have a chance to, I couldn't
Sorry, we had-
zero in and read them.
Well, I can send some questions. It was,
Were there other questions that came up?
it was
that-
more,
There's
I'm
one
gonna say
one
one,
Post-it note
was
on
it
the
all
way
about,
out.
was it about the
I
light?
didn't see
It
any
was,
Post-it
the
notes.
one Post-it note was like, great meeting, I
Yeah.
vote for school, vote for something, like they put a vote in for what they wanted.
Option one.
Awesome.
Option
They voted option
And
one.
that was the
They
next,
wanted to,
And
that
this
was the other
vote,
question.
most of their questions, as I recall, Dr. Stallman sat there and just kind of fiddled around. She
Yeah,
didn't have to
yeah.
answer any questions
Right,
academically.
right. And the one,
Most of the questions were about the traffic on the
you answered
road,
them.
red light,
right, I
crossing
listened
guards.
to it, yeah.
You know, the safety thing, they wanted to know if there would be an opening on the back
yeah,
side to
backside.
get into Eagle
Boy,
Lane.
but looking at those homes, I wouldn't want an opening on the backside in my backyard.
I mean, from you-
Because
you-
they block, they
you-
block
from-
right up to it.
From
But they
the
were more concerned
community,
with that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
they want
Right.
accessibility to it, and I get it, every community wants accessibility to it, because remember, when you buy a house in Eagle Lane, you get a golf cart, so everybody wants to drive a golf cart, I mean, it's true. Everybody,
Yes,
you wanna
that's
drive a
right.
car,
Really?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I listened to the
High class up there.
YouTube video, and I can tell you that there's already
Are they
been a
naming their
follow-up.
golf carts?
There's already been a follow-up question to the county commission regarding the pedestrian crosswalk. And that was forwarded to the county commission office, and if
Okay.
there will be a study that they will
Okay, thank you.
consider it, but not,
It's our
I don't
understanding,
know.
it's very,
It's been
very, very
forwarded.
costly.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I told him that I couldn't do that, and,
I wonder how high it would even have to be. I
exactly.
mean, you're gonna have large
I
trucks
think
that
it's a lot
go
of
up
money
and
to
down.
do that.
It
Well,
may be cost
It
prohibitive.
is, let's just say it's been given to the order, to Stephanie Copeland.
I wonder how
Let's
you
just say
knew
it
that.
way.
On here you have revisions to
Um,
area impacted, there's nothing different than what we already saw,
Correct.
correct? You haven't changed.
That is correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Everything
And
is
was
solid.
there, have you felt or heard anything outside of that meeting
Yeah, I mean,
in relationship to one option versus the
I mean-
first option versus the second?
and whether it's at church, whether it's at the grocery store, or
Right.
workout in the area, I hear that everybody's happy with option one. So
That's what I
I
was
get
assuming.
zero
Makes the most
feedback, so.
sense.
It does.
Especially for future growth.
This is what some
The
of
only thing they wanted to make certain is that we're gonna offer the STEAM initiative, it's gonna be a really nice school. They just
They
wanna
want
make
that
certain
everywhere.
that it's gonna be
Yes.
consistent, which is, we
Everybody.
talked about
That's-
OVE, we're gonna
OVE.
help Kendrick out, we're doing some stuff, and Poe's really good too, so we'll make sure they're all shiny, like every school in this county, not just certain areas, that
Thank you.
they feel good about their practice, so.
Well, and you
And
have to
that's-
continue that STEAM, you know,
Initiative
south to
throughout.
the rest of the district
ma'am.
because Keystone's gonna want it
Yep.
and Clay Hill, and we should have it
I agree.
when it's, if the cost, you know, we can afford it, we need to get it at every school.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any additional superintendent comments?
I do not.
Okay, I'm gonna turn to the attorney now. I am adding one more item to the agenda. Mr. Dagada will give Ms. Bush the proper language. Yesterday, Mr. Dagada and I spent till, what, 1:30? In mediation downtown Jacksonville, and I don't know how much you want to say about the case, but it was a mother-daughter situation, and they wanted quite a bit of money. Am I allowed to say how much?
Well, if you don't mind, I'll just kind of jump in.
Okay, go,
Okay, thank you.
but we did
Madam
good, so
Chair.
I'm gonna say.
Yeah, so this is a car accident case where it's alleged, well, there are police reports, it involved a rear ender by one of our folks in a truck, an F-250, during the workday. And it led to, this was an accident in 2013, it led to a lawsuit that was filed earlier this year. The damages could be as high as $200,000 per person injured, that is the driver mom and passenger daughter, 200 each, or that there's some argument that it'd be 300, it'd be capped at 300. In any event, that exposure also, you add to it attorney's fees, costs, expert costs, so on and so forth, and it gets pretty expensive. And in the mediation, it's very, we need to make it clear that there is no admission of fault. This is a little bit different. It's coming to the board through a proposed mediation agreement whereby the settlement of claims, all claims, would be resolved for $60,000,
Total. for
Total.
both of them.
which far exceeds the amount that we will spend to win, okay, through trial. It's set for trial in March. So the only thing that I can't provide to this board, as I normally could, is the actual mediation settlement agreement, because it's considered confidential. That document is considered confidential.
Oh, really?
Yeah, until it is signed.
Okay.
So what I've done is I've done my best to explain that insofar as the proposed description that I just,
Yeah.
put together last
I
night.
just wanted them to know that.
Yeah,
We did good.
Good job.
I think it was
I
great.
mean, It took us
was
till
great.
1:30,
Mhm.
but by George and, I mean, Mother's, well, I won't say anymore.
Yeah, careful.
It was a good day's work.
And I'm happy to take, to talk to you individually on that.
Yeah.
Can I say
Okay.
one, I know I said I didn't have any remarks, I'm sorry, through the chair. I sent emails about the contracts.
Yes.
Great work through CCEA and CESPA, our bargaining team, and Mr. Broski and Leonard Dietzen. They did work hard, and we're at a tentative agreement for both.
That's awesome.
And I know we're thrilled, and I'm so happy that this came about before Christmas. And as I understand it now, they have to have time for their groups to
Ratification.
vote. And so we can't get it on the January agenda, but we'll be placing it on the February agenda.
Yes, ma'am.
Great.
So, any more remarks, Mr. Daggett?
I'll look forward to working with the staff regarding open enrollment. If we have one interlocal agreement, we ought to have interlocal agreements with all who participate. And I'll look forward to working with everyone on that. The only other thing, and I just mentioned this to the superintendent this morning, and it really kind of relies on the history of the board and the district. I don't know if the board is anticipating providing a public hearing for the attendance boundary issue. I just kind of wanted to put that in front of the board, whether it wanted to do that or not. It's just an observation. I don't know if you've done it in the past.
I don't
We've
believe
never
we
done that.
I don't think
believe
we've done
we
that.
have.
No, we've only had
I
it for
think-
1 year, so.
I think-
They'll come see us anyway.
I'm sure I'll get some.
I just think,
I'll get some.
just think
I don't
about
know
it.
decision making, so.
If it's not, let's just think about it. Just contemplate it. And I only offer that out of an abundance of caution for collateral attacks, after the fact. Okay, that we didn't provide a public hearing, so to say.
I think that meeting up there
I think we're
was
required.
sufficient.
Yes.
We had ample opportunity.
I think. I hear you. Gotta do my
Okay.
job.
School board member remarks, Ms. Condon. Ms. Bowes.
Yes. STEAM initiative. I'm going to ask that we look again at the counts at all of the schools and make certain that our art classes and our music classes and our media center classes and any of our resource classes throughout are within a reasonable number. There are some art classes where they can only work with an 8.5 or 8 by 10 sort of piece of paper, 8.5 by 11, because they're so cramped. I don't believe it's location, I believe it's just numbers. And there are a couple of schools that are reaching that next number for another resource teacher. I know we made accommodations for, was it Lakeside last year? They needed 12 more or 14 more for another resource teacher or something. Some of the schools are getting to that point, and I would like us to seriously look at the resource numbers and how many teachers we have for those schools.
We will, and I think it's more about scheduling. And
Well,
if there's numbers
it's
for
the ones that are right on the bubble, like we've
They were-
spoken about
they were right
on the
OBs,
bubble,
they're
right.
just within like 10,
Yeah.
15, and so.
It just depends on,
And-
you just gotta figure out, some just don't warrant a threshold. I will look at all
Please.
threshold added.
I mean, they're meeting your criteria of team planning
Sure.
and grade level meetings and planning together and doing what they can to do that. I know that they've pushed in guidance counselors and other things to help, but as testing starts rolling around in the elementaries particularly, they're not going to have that additional
Yeah.
service,
I'll
so,
look into it.
Okay,
thank you.
Ms. Gilhousing, Ms. Carrigan.
Merry Christmas.
Okay. I do want to remind the board, if you haven't turned in your travel to the Tampa conference, it would be nice to get it in. I'm sure that Jenna would love to have that. I've got mine.
Thank you.
Okay, and don't forget FSBA to be sure and get on the computer to get your points.
That I've done. Also, if, I know that Ms. Bush just sent out an email to everyone if anybody's going to the day in the legislature. We
Yeah.
need to put in our registration for that.
Book your room.
I haven't even had a
They
chance to
already
look
are.
at the calendar.
Oh.
It seems like Mr. Davis is filling up January already.
I have a question, and look, would you look at the schedule for that? Because it appears that we really only have to be there one night, unless you're on the board of directors.
That's
It
usually it.
appears,
It is
Because
really
because
just the
last year
one
we
night.
did, well, last year we had that thing, I thought we were there 2 nights. Maybe I got there the
We
night
were.
before.
Because you had
New board
I
training.
had new board
New
training,
board
that's
training.
right.
And
I
then
had
I was
one
board
night.
of directors
I'm not
and
new
you were
anymore.
there for board of directors. So,
One night do it. I want to wish all of y'all a Merry Christmas. Hope you have some time to just have a little R&R and relax and remember the reason for the season. And with that, the meeting is adjourned.
Y'all have a Merry Christmas.
Okay, you may get to